What's up, Braden? How are you? Welcome in, everybody. Pre-show hype for the April 4th edition of TDN Daily. Just getting everything ready behind the scenes, making sure I'm tweeting everything out, putting it in the Discord. So just want to make sure I check all those boxes here before we get started. What's up, Dolphins Craze? How are you? Hope everyone's having a great start to their Tuesday. Got a pretty fun conversation to be had that I think be pretty interactive as we talk about these quarterbacks and what these contracts might look like and putting it in the proper context with what the market has told us this offseason and what the market might tell us here over the next coming weeks and months. So looking forward to it. You guys know the drill. Want it to be interactive. Want you guys to have your say, for you guys to get involved as well. So we'll give it a couple minutes. Let everybody file in. You guys have any pre-show questions? You guys know the drill. You can throw them in there, and I will answer them while I get everything set up here and ready to go. The Royals actually got a W last night, so things are good. Yeah, not a great day yesterday for my Metropolitans. Dolphins Craze. Why didn't you include Tua? I'm shocked. I tell you that you would make a Tua comment. Shocked. They did just pick up his 5th-year option. They may come to terms on a long-term extension, but I think Tua is on the Daniel Jones plan. Would be my early hunch of how the Dolphins are going to handle that situation. So, okay, we have tweeted out everything. We posted it in the Discord. We appear to be all good on my end looking at the stream. All right. It feels like we can transition to this screen and get ourselves started here. So, hello everybody. Happy Tuesday to you all. Hope everyone is having a great start to their Tuesday. We'll get started here in a little bit with the recording. You guys get to see a live version of it, but the recording of the April 4th edition of TDN Daily, and you guys can see it in the title, what we're talking about today on the show, contracts for 3 big-time quarterbacks, extensions that could be coming sooner rather than later for Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts. For those of you that were here yesterday, you will notice that down here in the corner, the nightlight, it was affectionately referred to as from yesterday, has been removed. So hopefully that is not too much of a distraction. I'm sure Jamie will, if he does pop in here, will absolutely make that one of the first things that he says to me is that, is it there? And you can see it has been removed from the outlet. So we got everybody filing in here. Should be a lot of fun. Again, like I said, I want this to be interactive as we have this conversation. But before we get started, again, I don't know why you wouldn't be, because if you're here early, you probably already are. But if you're not, please subscribe to the Draft Network on the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you get those notifications when we go live. You don't, find out after the fact that we have been live for 15, 20 minutes and maybe you missed the start of the show. So, and then thumbs up on the video. Also very, very helpful in the YouTube algorithm to help us get more people in here and have a big old party while we do this. So if you guys are all ready, I'm ready. I can push the record button, which is different from the stream button that I've already pressed, and we can get today's show underway. So allow me to make sure I have my notes up here, which is basically just overthecap.com, and we will have that conversation. So here we go. And welcome into the Tuesday edition of the TDN Daily Podcast. Chris Schubert back with you here once again on the show. Hope everybody's having a great start to their Tuesday. Hello to you in the podcast feed. Hello to you out there in YouTube land joining us on the video version of the show. And again, if you are just listening to us in the podcast feed, you got to come over and hang out with us on the YouTube channel if you have the opportunity to. Very interactive. We have banter in the pre-show. We have banter during the show. Your comments become a part of the show. So if you've ever found yourself disagreeing with me or having a comment while you're listening to the show, you're definitely going to want to head over to the YouTube channel and hang out with us and have those conversations in real time, because I will react to them. So a fun topic today here on the show as we look at the quarterback extension market, and specifically in the context of 3 quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Jalen Hurts. They have been the topic of conversation all offseason when it comes to quarterback extensions. They are the three that appear to be the most likely to get these contract extensions. They are the guys in the best position from a play perspective to get these contract extensions, and there does feel some semblance of inevitability that all three will get done. It doesn't feel like a situation where these things will linger, but as you know, contracts are a very lengthy process. There's a lot of back and forth that can occur, and things could potentially fall through. And so maybe these three things don't happen. But again, my early prediction here, as we start the show here, is that these three will happen. So the important thing that we want to do here, I think, is to look at the context, right? Look at the current landscape of quarterbacks, see who's currently positioned inside the top 5 of average per year, who's in the top 5 of total guarantees, maybe in the top 5 in total values. We can look at all of that, and then we'll discuss where these guys will probably rank in that regard. We will also look at current contracts that have been given out this offseason. We have 2 of them that I think are interesting in a lot of ways. We had the Daniel Jones contract extension with the New York Giants, and then Derek Carr signing as a free agent with the New Orleans Saints. I don't know how much they will impact these 3 guys, but they are contracts at the position that have just recently been given out, and so I do think they add the context. And then we've done about 7 or 8 shows on this person and this topic, but I do think there is some level of impact that Lamar Jackson could have on what type of contract these 3 gentlemen get. And again, the teams that these 3 guys play for also matters as well. So a lot of context, a lot of flavor that I think we'll be able to add here for today's show. So I think it's important to set the stage with the landscape. And for those of you watching the YouTube version of the show, if you see me looking away, it's because I have my third favorite website. You got the draftnetwork.com, number 1, playoffpredictors.com, number 2. My third favorite website, overthecap.com, open here to the right with the quarterback contracts pulled up so we can go through this and see where these 3 guys could potentially end up. And you know, I see that people in the comments, what's up Tuttle, what's up Roar of the Lions, Braden asking who I think is going to possibly get a deal first out of these 3. We will get into all of that here over the course of the show. But I think a great base for us to set here, a great conversation starter, would be to look at where we currently sit at the top 5. If we maybe want to go further than that, we can, but where the top 5 sit in certain categories at quarterback contracts. So if we just look at total value, and this will skew more heavily towards guys that got lengthier contracts, more in line to what we probably think these 3 guys will get, right? Contracts like Aaron Rodgers' contract are suppressed down a little bit. He's only got $150 million in total value because, again, it's only a 3-year deal, a 4-year deal that he got put together. So at the top, you start to see guys who are franchise quarterbacks who've got extensions with the teams that drafted them in most cases. Russell Wilson's in there as well. But we look at this. Patrick Mahomes, number 1, total value of $450 million. Josh Allen, number 2, $258 million. Russell Wilson, the extension that he signed with the Denver Broncos, $245 million. Kyler Murray, the extension that he just signed with the Arizona Cardinals, $230.5 million. Deshaun Watson, $230 million. That's fully guaranteed. That's also a piece of information to keep in mind here. So that's your top 5. You go after that, Daniel Jones at $160, Dak Prescott at $160, Matt Stafford at $160, Aaron Rodgers at $150.8, and Derek Carr at $150 as well. So those are the guys in the $150 above threshold. But you look at that top 5, other than, you've got Deshaun Watson, who got traded from the Texans to the Browns, but then signed the long-term contract. Russell Wilson got traded from Seattle to Denver, signed the long-term contract. But Mahomes, a big-time, big money deal, most value ever given to a player at the position in the sport, $450 million with the team that drafted him. Josh Allen, $258 million with the team that drafted him. Kyler Murray, $230.5 million with the team that drafted him. So those 3 guys, that bucket fits very similarly to Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. And you've got 2 of these quarterbacks who have participated in a Super Bowl, have played in a Super Bowl. Justin Herbert, hopefully looking to check that box off sooner rather than later. Now, maybe there will be disagreements among the live audience of the show here, but I look at this, and I don't think any of these guys are going to reach the Patrick Mahomes level of a contract, right? I don't think that standard is reserved for Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes only. And again, while I love all 3 of these quarterbacks, I don't think they reach that tier of impact that they provide to a team to where it's going to be that level of a contract. Now, I will tell you that next bucket, and these are more closely grouped together, of Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, that total dollar amount, the anywhere from $230 to $258, depending on the years given out to a contract, feels very much more in line to what I think these 3 guys are going to get. I do think these three guys are going to work themselves in to the top 5 at their position in almost all of these metrics. I certainly think they're going to work their way into top 5 at total value, right? I know Kyler Murray, a unicorn at the position, does things that nobody else can, but I don't think there's anybody here that's listening to this show that wouldn't take the 3 quarterbacks that we're talking about today. They would take Kyler Murray over those 3 guys. You would all want Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts to be your quarterback. Well, if that's the case, then I certainly feel that they're going to beat that 230.5 number pretty substantially, right? So that's just total value. That's where the top 5 in total value meets. Now, if we look at average per year, it's where it gets a little different, right? Aaron Rodgers' contract bumps itself all the way to the top. Russell's at $49 million, Kyler at $46.1 million, Deshaun at $46 million, Mahomes at $45 million, Josh Allen at $43 million, Matt Stafford, that contract that he got with the Rams, that's at $40 million, Dak at $40 million, Daniel Jones at $40 million. And so this, again, this is the number that I think everybody looks at, that annual average. The 2 things that everybody looks at, the average annual value of the contract. Again, it's not the cap number. Everyone does the cap magic to make the number whatever they need it to be for a certain season. But the annual average value, that was apparently a big sticking point for Daniel Jones in his negotiations with the New York Giants, that and the total guarantees, right? The fully guaranteed money are the 2 things that are very important. And so, we look at the total value, and I think that allows you to make a tier break of where Mahomes sits, right? Mahomes is getting $450, the most value out of anybody in the league, right, in terms of a total contract, but his $45 million average is only 5th highest because his contract's so long, signed a 10-year deal, right? And so that's where that number can be spread out over time. Braden says, I don't think any do either. Predictably, if I had to guess anyone come close to the total value side of things, I predict it would be Herbert. Yeah, I mean, listen, Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts have a Super Bowl pedigree, right? They've been to a Super Bowl. They've led their team to a Super Bowl. Talent-wise, I don't know. I think it would depend on how you would stack their talent, right? And you also need to factor in here, and this is another talking point. I guess we can do it now. The Bengals and Chargers, 2 teams that are they going to dole out that big money contract for a quarterback, right? Are they going to pay the franchise market rate for a quarterback right now? That's an unknown that we will need to see, right? Philly, they gave the contract to Carson Wentz, even though it didn't end up working out very well. They've shown an ability to spend money. Howie Roseman knows what he's got, and Jalen Hurts knows the type of team that he's got there. So again, I don't think there's going to be any worry about that. So when we look at this from an average per year perspective, I think this is a fun conversation, and I'll ask the question to the chat, and while you guys are populating your answers, I'll answer it for myself. Does anybody, where do these guys fit? Where ultimately on an annual average value do you ultimately see them getting? And the thing for me that I sit back and I look at and makes me think that these guys are going to be very high up in the pecking order is you got Derek Carr getting 37.5 on, what was that, a 4 or 5 year deal that he got? You got Daniel Jones getting $40 million per year on a 4-year deal. You've got Dak Prescott, $40 million on a 4-year deal. Matt Stafford, $40 million on a 4-year deal. You have $40 million kind of being the standard. Are these 3 guys better than Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, Derek Carr? Are they better than all those guys? Would you feel more comfortable giving $40 million per season to Joe Burrow or Daniel Jones? Would you rather give $40 million per season to Justin Herbert or Dak Prescott? Would you rather give $40 million to Matt Stafford or Jalen Hurts? These are the questions that these front offices are asking themselves. And a great point mentioned in the chat that from Sam about the cap is going to continue to go up by 2030, right? You're going to sign somebody to, let's say it's a 7 to 10 year contract right now, right? So you're paying them from 2023. You'll probably include this year in whatever extension you put together. So you're paying them until 2030 or 2032. So you're now crossing over into the next TV deal for the NFL. Is there anybody sitting here enjoying the show with us today on this fine Tuesday that thinks the TV deal is not going to go up for the NFL? Live sports are the outlier in television right now. While other things are going down, right? Cable ratings are going down. News ratings are going down. Scripted television, reality TV is going down. All of these ratings are going down year over year from where they were. Live sports are the one entity that networks want. They are the one entity that streaming services want. They are the one entity that the media landscape believes in very strongly as something they want in their portfolio. So does anybody think that the TV dollars that are going to be doled out to the NFL teams is it going to be more than it is now? And right now the cap goes up every season. So you pay a guy $45 million per season now, that might look like a bargain in 7 or 8 years. that might look like we got a home run here. And so in the current landscape, it's fine. It may be towards the top end, but we talk about this all the time when having these conversations of you want to be the guy that resets the market, because when you reset the market as a team, right, don't be worried about resetting the market initially, because the moment you reset the market, another guy's going to beat him, right? Another guy's going to then use that as the launching point to move ahead. And once they do that, then your contract looks, tame in comparison. I'll get to some comments here in the chat. Sims World says, I think Mahomes' contract is extremely team-friendly. I also think none of these guys will really push the envelope to surpass perhaps Mahomes. Remember, Herbert grew up a Charger fan, and Burrow is from Ohio. I agree with the sentiment 100%, right? Mahomes' contract is incredibly team-friendly. The cap numbers that they're able to use on a yearly basis allows them to continue to put out a world-class, a championship-caliber team. And again, I don't think anyone is going to touch the total value of that contract. Maybe they'll beat Mahomes' 45 per year, but again, Mahomes' 45 per year is because they're paying him over the course of 10 seasons, right? Maybe a team like the Chargers or the Bengals sign their guy to a 7 or 8 year deal, and then the numbers change a little bit. Braden says, I say Herbert and Burrow get anywhere from 48 to 50 million per. I think Hurts maybe settles in around 45 per. That seems pretty reasonable. The timing of this matters too, right? Right now, if Herbert were to sign or Burrow were to sign, I think that would hurt Jalen Hurts a little bit, right? I think if Hurts were to sign right now, that might hurt Herbert and Burrow a little bit, right? The timing of this also can impact the dollars that you get. Roar the Lions, Matthew Turner of the Discord says, here's a larger question. If teams really do buy into what you're saying here, elite quarterback or rookie only, will mid-tier vets bring down their asking value to compete to where their value meets their utility? That's an interesting question. I don't necessarily think you will see a large discrepancy, right? I don't think you'll see a large pay cut from these mid-tier vets. And I'm assuming the mid-tier vets, Derek Carr would fit into that option, right? To some people, a mid-tier vet, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo, his numbers are not top half of the league in anything. Total value, average per year, none of it is top half of the league. He's not a top 16 quarterback in any of the financials, right? That contract, $72.7 million in total value, 24.2 per season, that feels like a nice going rate for a starter caliber quarterback, right? I don't think those prices need to drop. And again, to what we were just talking about, as the cap numbers continue to rise, as the TV dollars continue to go in, and then all of a sudden we start to pay franchise quarterbacks $50 million per year, $55 million per year. A rising tide lifts all boats. Now a mid-tier quarterback is probably worth 30, right? No offense to Daniel Jones. I think the Giants did what they had to do, but is Daniel Jones really, truly a $40 million per year quarterback? No, I think the market kind of dictated that as these guys continue to rise in salaries, that it could bring the salaries up for everybody, right? Derek Carr made 37.5. If Derek Carr was at this level of his career in 3 years, is that number not 45? Is that number not 50? You've got Burrow, Herbert, and Hurts right now, but after that, you're going to have Trevor Lawrence is going to come up, a potential Tua contract extensions around the horizon. Lamar, a long-term deal, whether it's with Baltimore or with somebody else, is also around the horizon. These are the guys that we're talking about. I don't know if anybody of the last 2 draft cycles certainly falls into this bucket right now, but that's kind of the way that I see it happening right now. I think as the cap dollars rise, those mid-tier guys' prices will scale in comparison. Tuttle says Burrow and Herbert hit 50, Hurts 45. I think Hurts signs extension first. Hurts only on second-round pick deal, hasn't had a top 10 pick contract yet like the others. Yeah, it appears that there's a group consensus here that Herbert and Burrow are going to get more than Jalen Hurts on a per-year basis. I'm skeptical of that just a little bit. I think that's underselling the growth that we saw from Jalen Hurts in 2022, 2023. He improved incredibly as a passer, right? We knew what he could provide in the running game. We know what he could provide as an extra number that needs to be accounted for in the running game there in Philadelphia. But the growth that he had as a passer that allowed Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown to have great years, Dallas Goedert, you just now add a great passing attack with a quarterback that is able to execute down the field in that regard, with a quarterback that's able to execute in the run game. I think we're selling Jalen Hurts a little bit short here. It would not surprise me. I don't know if he'll be the top guy of these three. I think it's going to be Burrow who's going to get the most. I wouldn't be surprised if Hurts got the second most and then Herbert got the third most. If you want to flip Herbert and Hurts and go 2-3 in that order, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, but I do think we maybe are potentially selling Jalen Hurts a little bit short to just assume he is going to be the third guy in this pecking order when it comes to annual average value. So that's that conversation, right? We talked about total value. I think both these guys end up in the top five, right? Not Mahomes top tier $450 million, but that Josh Allen to Deshaun Watson spread of 230 to 258, yeah, that fits pretty nicely, and some of those guys might be able to beat Josh Allen's number as well. We talked about the average per year. The top five is 50.2 for Aaron Rodgers all the way down to 43 for Josh Allen. Again, I think all three guys beat that number as well. When we look at the fully guaranteed money, you got Deshaun Watson at $230 million, and I listen, I'll say it here. I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anybody. That contract was foolish to give out at the time. I don't think you're going to see a fully guaranteed contract given out to that magnitude at the quarterback position for a very long time, if ever, right? I know everyone talks about Lamar Jackson wanting a fully guaranteed contract and probably deserving a fully guaranteed contract. All these players probably deserve fully guaranteed contracts that we're talking about here today. I just don't see it. I just don't see the owners all of a sudden changing their mind, changing their tune, changing course, and giving out fully guaranteed deals, right? I just don't see it. I'm not really sure that is on the horizon. So that number, fully guaranteed, not going to be reached. After that, you got Russ with 124, Kyler with 103, Aaron with 101, Josh Allen with 100. That is your $100+ million club at the position. I got to tell you, I think all three of these guys are in that club as well, 100+. After that, you got Dak at 95, Daniel Jones at 82, Kirk Cousins at 70. I mean, I think all three of these guys fit above that. I think these three guys are absolutely $100 million fully guaranteed. So that's the top five in fully guaranteed money. All three of these guys are going to be in there. So they're going to be in top five in total value, top five in average per year, top five in fully guaranteed. You start doing the math, you're talking 225, 250, 300, 350. I mean, you're talking mega deals. And that's what we're going to see for all three of these guys. And they're all well-deserved. Three guys deserve these contracts. Sims World, I'm pretty confident that Herbert and Burrow could get 8+ year contracts or have a contract based on salary cap percentage. But again, do they desire to play hardball? I think that this hurts Lamar contract. It's interesting, right? Because Lamar not having an agent, Lamar clearly super interested in carrying the baton of, I want to be the champion of a fully guaranteed contract. Is there the same comfortability of the other three guys to do that? Is that something that's super important to them? It's clearly important to Lamar, and Lamar is going to pick up the fight that he believes in, and I stand behind that decision 100%. If you believe in something, you want to fight for it, you go ahead and do that. But you're seeing that there are side effects to that, right? Lamar just got the non-exclusive tag from the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar doesn't have a ton of contracts that are flowing in. Do you really think that if Lamar didn't have a contract offer from some team somewhere that we wouldn't have heard about it by now? That isn't the Baltimore Ravens. And so it's just, do these three guys want to go down that path? I don't know, right? I don't think it's been asked of them. I don't think that conversation that's been the case. I don't know. Braden asks, and do we really think Lamar wants fully guaranteed or just beat a certain number of fully guaranteed? I've been confused on the reporting. It's a fair question, Braden. There's the back and forth that Lamar kind of had with Adam Schefter, where if you remember, Adam Schefter and Chris Mortensen at the beginning of the season talked about Lamar getting a contract from the Baltimore Ravens right before the season began, and there was a number floated around about what those guarantees fully were. Now, I'm going to do the thing that everyone hears me do, and you get to see a live version of it. I'm going to look up something that I don't know off the top of my head during the show. So stand by here as I try to look up what that contract offer was in terms of fully guaranteed, because maybe we can get to the bottom to your question, Braden, of where that contract and those guarantees would fit in the current cycle, and maybe that's what is at the root of the miscommunication between the two sides. So it was a 3-year fully guaranteed contract worth $133 million. I see that story from 3 weeks ago. I am looking up something here. Hold on. Yeah, it was a 5-year extension worth over $250 million with $133 million guaranteed at signing. Now, I will tell you, $133 million guaranteed at signing, Braden, if the report is accurate, if that was a contract that was floated and put in front of Lamar Jackson, would have him the second most fully guaranteed money of any quarterback ever. Only Deshaun Watson's totally fully guaranteed contract would beat that. 133 would be the fully guaranteed number, not the total guaranteed number, because the total guarantee factors in other things like guarantee for injury. The fully guaranteed, right? Fully guaranteed is what is absolutely 100% going to be owed to you no matter what happens with injury, everything like that. $133 million would put him second in fully guaranteed money. So the $250 million number would have him third in total value, ahead of Russell Wilson, ahead of Kyler Murray, ahead of Deshaun Watson's $230 million. It would have put him third, Mahomes, Allen, and then Lamar Jackson. If that contract is to believe to have been offered, that's where that would have stacked up for him in terms of numbers. But we're talking about Lamar, and his contract also plays a role here. His contract also could have an impact here. Because if for some reason, I don't expect this to happen based on the trail of communication that we've had between both sides, but if he were to sign a contract between now and the time that these three guys choose to sign a deal, well, now that's a new standard that has been set. Because right now, any of the agents for these three quarterbacks are using Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, maybe Patrick Mahomes to a certain extent, maybe Russell Wilson to a certain extent, using those contracts to base their proposal. They're also using the current market landscape of what Daniel Jones and Derek Carr just got from the Giants and the Saints to say, hey, you see what these two guys got? You know how good Justin Herbert is? You know how good Joe Burrow is? You know how good Jalen Hurts is? And they'll probably do the statistical, this guy's better than this guy, so he's worth this amount of money. And so if Lamar signs a deal, he adds himself to that list. He then becomes one of the top guys that these three guys will be comparing themselves to. He will be one of the guys that got a contract this offseason that these three guys will be using as a comparison point. When negotiating these deals, it's all about context. It's all about using the evidence and using the data and using the information with the contracts that currently exist to build a case for your guy. That's what's being done here. And so, again, Lamar signing a contract before any of these three guys do would impact those negotiations. In what way? I'm not sure. It might be another data point that these agents can use to get their guys more money, or teams might look at it and say, well, Lamar Jackson, former MVP, what have your guys done? And then there could be a back and forth there, and the dollars. Again, we would need to see what the numbers are on a Lamar contract to be able to understand that as well. So a lot goes into this. And so the thing that we can do here on this show and in this conversation is look at the contracts that have been given out, look at the contracts that have been given out this offseason, and compare these three guys to those guys, compare these three guys to the top end of the market, and see where they sit. And again, I come away with this saying that these three guys are going to be top 5 at all of the statistics, all of the metrics that we talked about here. Total value, average per year, fully guaranteed. They're going to meet those marks. If I had to guess, Jalen Hurts probably goes first. There's just a lot of buzz in that regard. There's just a lot of buzz that they're going to get that deal done. There's urgency, but there's not urgency. They don't have to have a deal done this week. They don't have to have a deal done this month. If these teams want to go through the draft process and finish up the draft, and they'll keep touching base with agents and be like, okay, we'll circle back with you at the beginning of May. They could do this. I mean, there could be these guys could sign at the beginning of training camp. But I think it's important to look at this and to look at what these contracts could look like, because team building, draft coming up around the corner. These three teams are going to try to build around these three guys to win a Super Bowl, right? For Cincinnati and Philadelphia, they got there, but ultimately lost. They want to get back there and win, so they got to build a team. Well, knowing what your quarterback number is going to be for the next potential decade is pretty helpful in that regard. So there is pros and cons to doing this, but a lot of pros to getting this done. Right, the cons are you're spending a lot of money, and that changes the cap that you're able to use. But knowing what you know, knowing what you've got, knowing what your cap looks like year to year to year, knowing your quarterback's locked in, you don't have to worry about that anymore. It's a sigh of relief. Sims World says, I don't think Lamar wants a fully guaranteed contract, but I do think he wants at least more than Kyler by a fair bit. Yeah, Kyler got $230.5 with $103.3 fully guaranteed. So the contract offer that Lamar was offered at the beginning of the year, according to Chris Mortensen and Adam Schefter, was $250. So, it's $230.5, and doing math here, $250. It's like $29.5 million more in total value, and it's $46.7 million in extra fully guaranteed money. So that's the difference between the contract that was reportedly offered at the beginning of the year to where Kyler's contract is. And I'd agree with you. I'd pay Lamar a lot more than what Kyler Murray got. I think Lamar is a much better quarterback, and I would much rather have Lamar Jackson on my team than I would Kyler Murray. But yeah, I think there's urgency on all of these teams to get this deal done, because I think it allows them to know what they're operating with, not just in 2023, but beyond that, right? You sign a guy for, let's just call it 7 years, right? I think that's probably the minimum that these deals are going to be looking at. You sign a guy for 7 years. Isn't it nice to know what your quarterback number is going to be for 7 years? And again, all these guys are going to structure the contracts that allow them to restructure them, and you'll see the team's cap management side of things, the cap management gurus in those buildings work in language to the contracts and work in the way money is allocated that allows them flexibility down the road. Again, Patrick Mahomes is one of them. He's got a 10-year, $450 million contract, but that deal is incredibly team friendly. I'll actually pull it up here. Just to show you guys, his cap number for 2022 was $35.7 million, was $17% of the cap. Next year, this upcoming year, he's $39.6 million, 18% of the cap. 2024, $46 million, 18% of the cap. 2025, $48.6 million, 17% of the cap. That's not, I don't know if that assumes how much the cap is going to go up by, but as the cap goes up, that number is going to go down. He's got some big numbers in there, like in 2027 right now, his cap number is $62.3 million, but I'm sure the contract will be restructured by that point. But again, from a team-friendly perspective, like, they're able to do a lot with this after 2027. After 2027, they have no dead money if they want to just move on from Mahomes. Not to say they will, but they've created a lot of flexibility for themselves long-term on this deal. So very well done by everybody involved. And so that's kind of what teams are probably going to be looking to do with these three guys. They're going to be looking to get those contracts that provide them the roadmap for what their future looks like, that provides them the roadmap of what their financials look like, and ultimately, at the end of the day, allows them to breathe a sigh of relief that they've got their franchise quarterback locked up long-term. Because I don't think there's anybody that is sitting here listening to this show that thinks that these three guys shouldn't be the franchise quarterbacks for their teams and shouldn't get extensions, shouldn't be locked up long-term, because it gives these three teams a great window to try to compete. Braden says Howie probably benefits from the NFC being so wide open as far as urgency goes. Yeah, I mean, the quicker you can lock down Jalen Hurts and understand what you're dealing with, the quicker Howie Roseman can continue to be Howie Roseman and make all those, shrewd deals that we see him make. And, oh, by the way, I just want to remind everybody, they've got 2 first-round picks at the end of the month that they're going to be able to add to this team. I mean, it's a pretty nice position to be in. You have the NFC being wide open. I mean, just look at it this year. The Philadelphia Eagles probably the favorites in the NFC East, pretty clearly. What does the NFC North look like? Aaron Rodgers more than likely going to be out of there playing in New York. The Vikings, there are all of a sudden reports being circulated about a trade that sends Kirk Cousins to San Francisco. We'll see how much validity there is to that. I know the Lions are on the rise, but again, in terms of pecking order in the NFC, I'm not really scared about any of the teams in the NFC North. NFC South, post-Tom Brady era in Tampa. What does Derek Carr year 1 in New Orleans look like? Carolina's probably going to be dealing with a rookie quarterback. Atlanta, year 2 of Desmond Ridder. Do any of those teams feel like a big threat to? I know Philadelphia lost some talent, but do any of those teams feel like a big threat to Philadelphia? Look at the NFC West. Matthew Stafford, what's the health look like of him in that team? Kyler Murray going to miss a decent portion, if not all of the season for Arizona. San Francisco, yeah, they're probably, I think, the number 2 if I had to power rank it right now. just because of the consistency, and they've seemed to be able to succeed even though they don't have the quarterback play. Seattle with Geno Smith, they kind of tapered off at the end of last year. So they're going to have to address some things in order to sustain over the course of a full season. So you get this deal done now, you lock yourself into a window where everybody's playing catch up to you. Not just not financially, because of what they're going to have to pay their quarterbacks, but where they're at in their life cycles, they're going to be catching up to you. It's a pretty nice place to be. I know they lost the Super Bowl, and I know a lot of Philly fans are disappointed by that, and rightly so, but they've got a pretty nice window, a nice stretch of opportunity here. So there you go. There you have it. Conversation about the contract extension for these three guys. Again, I think all three guys are probably looking at that Josh Allen number and maybe beating it. I really, truly believe. I mean, he got $258 in total value. He signed, let me get the numbers here. He signed a $258 6-year extension back in August of 2021. I think these guys beat both of those numbers. I think they're going to get more than 6 years. I think they're going to get more than $258 million. I really do. I think all three of these guys are going to sail past that number. They all have played well enough to deserve it. Now, I think there's a lot of dollars that are going to be allocated to those guys, and so it's going to be fascinating to keep an eye on. But for those three teams, getting that done opens up a world of opportunities and opens up a great window for you. So appreciate everybody listening to the show in the podcast feed. We greatly do appreciate it. If you rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, share it with friends, family, loved ones. Join us over on the YouTube feed. Not only do you get the pre-show, not only do you get to see the video version of the show, but you also get the post-show. Because after I sign off here, we hang out on the YouTube channel in the post-show. We answer questions. We talk about all sorts of random things. So you're going to want to be there as well. So if you have the opportunity to come join us on the TDN Daily live stream video version, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we do that. We obviously do the pre-show. We record the show for a half hour, 45 minutes, and then we got the post-show shenanigans. So again, for you podcast listeners, you get the podcast feed, but there's some extra stuff that you get if you hang out with us on the YouTube channel. So I appreciate everybody making this show a part of your day. Hope everybody has a great rest of their Tuesday. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. And we are in the post-show shenanigans. So there you have it, the April 4th edition of TDN Daily. We can continue to have conversations about the contracts, if you'd like to have that. If you'd like to throw random questions out there about other stuff that's in the news. If you want to throw random off-the-wall stuff, Braden loves to throw baseball conversation in there. We were talking about the Savannah Bananas yesterday, the Kansas City Royals today. Whatever you guys want to talk about, I've got about 20 minutes before I got to head off to the TDN Daily staff meeting where we talk, we're doing some cross-checks on some players, and we do some content planning. So we've got that coming up at the top of the hour that I got to sneak off to. But for the next 20 or so minutes, I'm here to answer questions and hang out with you guys. So whatever you guys have for me, go ahead and throw those in the chat, and we will talk about them. I will let you know that keeping an eye on this Kirk Cousins stuff, right? That these rumors of Kirk Cousins, San Francisco, potentially working out a trade. I'm skeptical. It feels like every year we hear this. It feels like every year we have this conversation linking Kirk Cousins to San Francisco when they have quarterback problems. So I'm skeptical of how serious we should be taking that. But if things do develop, you do know it will be a conversation for us here on TDN Daily. Jordan, what if Anthony Richardson goes number 1 and Stroud goes 2? How far could Young fall? Very good question. I will pull up the Tankathon here just to have the order in front of me. I should remember it by now, but I just don't. My team's not picking the top 10 for the first time, what feels like forever, so I don't memorize the order as well. So, okay, so we got Anthony Richardson going number 1 to Carolina. We got C.J. Stroud going number 2 to Houston. What happens after that? Well, this is a fun little conversation that we can have here. Could we see a team then who loves Bryce? And this would be based on how teams internally view it, right? Does a team like Las Vegas love Bryce Young? Does a team like Detroit love Bryce Young? Does a team like Tennessee love Bryce Young? I'm trying to think of teams that could potentially do this. Those are really the 3 candidates that I would view pretty highly in that regard. Do they love Bryce Young and have them as their slam dunk QB1 that they all of a sudden see that he's starting to slide and they call Arizona and make a trade for the number 3 pick, right? The slide could end there. The slide could end at 3. If it doesn't happen, Indy could take him at 4. I really think that the floor for any of these guys is probably 7. I think all 4 go in the top 7. I really do. I'm not, I think in weeks and months past and in mock drafts past, we've talked about the idea of potentially a quarterback getting all the way to Detroit with their second pick at 18, or Tampa at 19, or Seattle at 20. I'm just not there. I think 3 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 4, and then the fourth guy probably goes either 5, 6, or 7. I mean, that's just where I'm at with it right now. Braden, I have a take for prospects and props thinking about NFC stuff. I know you guys mentioned win total episodes coming up. I don't think people are giving Seattle enough credit to possibly winning the NFC West. Braden, I appreciate the opportunity to give a cheap plug. Prospects and props, myself, Jamie Eisner, each and every day, going through the NFL draft, NFL news, with a gambling twist as well. So far this week, we've looked at the odds. So for the props, the NFL draft props, odds for the number 1 and number 2 pick, tomorrow, number 3, and then we're going to go through win totals for all the teams. So we'll talk about what the teams have done in the offseason, what we think about them for 2023. So a mixture of NFL talk, a mixture of NFL draft talk, a mixture of gambling talk, all in one umbrella. And so we've been having a lot of fun with it. You've got that on the YouTube channel and on the podcast. If you just search prospects and props, you can't miss the logo. I mean, it's neon green. Shout out to my guy Rob, who we told him what we wanted the show to be, and I told him kind of the theme I was going for, and my guy hit me with the neon green, so I greatly do appreciate it. Also, if Cousins goes to San Francisco, does Lance go to Minnesota? I certainly would think. See, that's the part of the deal that doesn't make sense to me, right? Minnesota is sitting there, and they're watching Green Bay trade Aaron Rodgers. Detroit was on their heels. I think Chicago is probably a year, maybe 2 years away from being in the mix here. Wouldn't you want to go for it one more time with Kirk? Like, why would you trade Kirk and then go with trade? It just feels weird to me. I don't know. I'm skeptical of the news. Sims World, do you think it is the Cardinals' best interest to trade back and plan to possibly put themselves in a position to get Caleb Williams next year? I don't necessarily think it would be to put themselves in a position to get Caleb Williams, but I do think Monty Ossenfort should strongly think about trading the number 3 pick. I mean, I advocate for Houston to trade the pick, and I advocate for Arizona to trade the pick. I think that's in the best interest for both teams, but they don't get to make those decisions in a vacuum, right? They need a dance partner. In the situation that Jordan laid out, I think it would be music to Arizona's ears for Bryce to fall to 3, because I think they could find some team that would want to move up for Bryce at 3 to take a guy. Seattle's a sleeper at quarterback for 4. Yeah, I mean, I think or at 5. I think if they Anthony Richardson, I think would be the perfect fit there, because I don't think there would be a great anticipation for Anthony Richardson to start right away. Geno did sign that contract. They're probably locked into him for 2 years, so Anthony could probably sit. That feels like a market that potentially could be willing to be patient, not scream and clamor and shout from the rooftops to have a rookie start. But we don't live in that world anymore, though. So it's really hard to say that there's a fan base that wouldn't want their guy to start right away. That's the kind of thing I worry about is, if Geno has a 2 or 3 game stretch where he struggles and they drafted Anthony Richardson or any of these guys at 5, I think the fans will expect that guy to go in. So it's tough. But to go back to your question, Sims World, yeah, I mean, I think the Cardinals should trade back, but it takes 2 to tango. They got to find a team that's interested, and then they can get whatever they define as a king's ransom. I mean, the reports were that the asking price for 3 was similar to what Chicago was asking for 1. So that was Arizona's asking price. Now, that was around when that deal was done. That was March 10th when that deal was done. So that's about a month ago that the asking price at Arizona was around what it was for the number 1 pick. Will that be the case in 2 weeks? No, I don't think so. I think the price probably comes down a little bit. But yeah, I think they should trade back. What do they have right now? I mean, let me see how many total picks they have. As I wait for this to load and tell me. They've got 3 top 70 picks, so they pick 3, 34, and 66. They've got 4 top 100 picks. I mean, they're in a pretty nice position to get some impact players. 4 top 100 picks is nothing to scoff at. But they do need a lot of help. I think their offensive line needs work. If they trade DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, they could not only trade back out of 3, they could trade DeAndre Hopkins and get draft picks. Again, I don't think it's going to be, you're not talking, top 50 picks, but you could get some value there as well. So they could really set themselves up well, but they need help on the offensive line. I think they need help in the wide receiver room with or without DeAndre Hopkins. Defensively, they need pass rushers. They need linebacking help. They probably could use more. I mean, they just need everything. I don't think there's a single group that they don't feel that they could use an upgrade in. And so it just depends on the priority in that regard. So for them, I think with all three of these picks, it's just best player available on the board, right? And for them, they're probably in a golden opportunity unless Houston decides to not take a quarterback at 2 and take Will Anderson. I mean, that's really the only threat that there is to Arizona not getting Will Anderson with the number 3 pick and getting a top-tier pass rusher. Do you believe the report that D-Hop may just have to be cut? I mean, how do you not at least entertain that possibility when the fact that no one's traded for him yet? I mean, I saw a report today the Ravens have offered OBJ a contract. I mean, what is the actual particulars on the contract? I know it's not good, and this is why you keep overthecap.com open for all these conversations. But let's look at this contract. He's going to be 31. You're paying him $29.9 million next year. That's what he counts against the cap, excuse me. He counts 29.9, and he counts 25.5. That's his cap number, but he's got a prorated bonus. What's his cash due? He's due 19.4 and 14.9. So that's what you're trading for, because the prorated bonus, you don't have to. That doesn't get applied to the team that trades for him. So you're paying him 19.4 in 2023. You're paying him 14.9 in 2024. Where would 19.4 rank among wide receivers for next season? I think I'm looking at the contract perfectly. I mean, 19 puts him below Mike Williams, Amari Cooper. I mean, he's ahead of Deontay Johnson, Christian Kirk, Tyler Lockett. I mean, you're paying $19 million. I mean, he's not top 50. I mean, let me just do some quick math here. Average per year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He'd be the 15th, right? But Al Bundy, and first of all, just a fantastic name. That's on the Cardinals side, right? I mean, that dead money's on the Cardinals side. A team that's acquiring DeAndre Hopkins is paying him the price tag of the 15th highest paid wide receiver in the league on an average per year basis. He's probably not the 15th best wide receiver anymore, but it's not like you're paying him a fortune. You're not I think vastly overpaying. If they traded DeAndre Hopkins right now, what does this look like here? Yeah, they've got $21 million in dead money. So this might be just a non-starter for the Cardinals from a cash perspective. They trade him post-June 1. What does that do? It's a little bit better. It's 10.5 in dead money, and they get $19 million in cap space. So maybe it's a post-June 1 trade. Maybe he's when everybody sees what their cap situation looks like and they want to do this. But they might. I mean, I don't think can they just actually cut him? They cut him post-June 1. It's the same hit. It's $10.5 million in dead money and $19 in cap savings. But if they were going to do that, if they were going to cut him, and they were going to designate him a post-June 1 cut, just do it now. So, I don't know. We'll see. It's certainly interesting that it's been relatively quiet, and there hasn't been a lot of movement in that regard. Braden says the Ravens are probably offering a bag of chips to OBJ. Well, apparently he wants $15 million per season. So, I don't know. Would be a good get. I mean, if he's healthy, I think OBJ showed in his time with the Rams. Sims World, you see the reports on that. Sims World, I have the NFL subreddit open, and I just saw a story from Pro Football Talk about Mac Jones that I was going to discuss here with the group, but I'll read your comment first. You see the report on Mac Jones. Do you think he's gone before the season, and what are some alternative options at quarterback for the Patriots? So I'll answer your question in a second, Sims. But there is from I guess this is from earlier today. This is from 11/16, whatever EDT is. I can't do time zone changes. Per a source with knowledge of the situation, Bill Belichick has shot Mac Jones to multiple teams during the 2023 offseason. The full list of potential destinations isn't known. The teams mentions that possible destinations were the Raiders, okay, so the connection to Josh McDaniels, the Texans, the connection to Nick Caserio, the Bucks, because they have Kyle Trask as their starting and Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterbacks, and the Commanders. So let's do this. Let's do this one piece at a time. The Raiders, I don't think so, because I think the Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo with the idea that he could be their starter short term, and I think there's a good chance they take a quarterback at 7, if not move up. The Texans, I mean, as the king of the Texans shouldn't, and the Raiders just signed Brian Hoyer, so they don't need They don't need. They're not doing that. They're not trading for Mac Jones. They've got Brian Hoyer. They've got Jimmy, and they're going to take a quarterback at 7 more than likely. So no, I'm doing this in real time. You're seeing me process this in real time. I'm crossing the Raiders off the list. I just am. The Texans, listen, I'm the king of the Texans should not take a quarterback. But I'm going to trade for Mac Jones? Probably should have just signed Jimmy Garoppolo. But if the Texans trading for Mac Jones mean they wouldn't take a quarterback at 2 and they would continue to build, I would kind of endorse that move. The Bucs, I think the Bucs are incredibly set with what they're going to do. They're going to have Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask just battle it out. The Commanders, they just feel so committed to Sam Howell, right? They just feel so committed. I think Bailey Zappi, to answer your question, Sim's World, I think if they trade Mac Jones, I think Bailey Zappi will be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots in 2023. Who goes first, Mac Jones or Bill? Probably Mac, but if Mac stays this year, it could be Bill. Total, has TDN's draft coverage plans been finalized yet? Live multi-day coverage like last year. We will have more information for that in the coming weeks. I do know for the current big plan, at least for me, is going to be, we're going to do a TDN Premium. So if you're a member of TDN Premium in the Discord, we're going to do a TDN Premium live watch along. So it's just going to be probably me and a couple other members of the TDN content team. So think like Jack McKessie, Jamie Eisner, Ryan Fowler, like that group. You'll be hearing our live reactions, and then there's plans for some social content as well with the scouts kind of reacting to things. But nothing super finalized that I can talk about here with 100% certainty. But you guys will be the first to know as I know things, because obviously want you guys to be a part of whatever we do from a content perspective. So when I know more, I will share with you. We've got some things that we're working out and just putting the final details on. So I don't want to say anything without having that stuff finalized. Sims World, I would rather the Texans trade for Trey Lance than trade for Mac. Yeah, but if they don't trade for Trey Lance and Trey Lance does get traded, what does that say about how DeMeco Ryans felt about Trey Lance when he was there in San Francisco? All right, we got about 5 minutes or so here before I gotta jump out of here and get myself ready for the meeting. So I'm gonna make this the last call for any questions or comments about anything that we are having a conversation about, or anything you want to hear my thoughts on or discuss. But I greatly appreciate you guys making this a part of your day, where I'm having a lot of fun doing this. It's a lot of fun interacting with you guys, not just during the show, because I think it makes the actual show that we're putting out better, but I think the pre- and post-show banter is a lot of fun. So I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and that's thanks to all of you guys that hang out with us here. Braden, could we do a TDN contest like predicting the most accurate first round? That could be fun. I'll see what we can do. Yeah, I'll run that up the flagpole and see what happened. Yeah, Todd, I appreciate the question, and trust me, I want to share. What the plans are, and I want to be able to tell you guys, hey, this day at this time, this is what we're doing. But I don't want to do that and then have something change because we're working on a bunch of different things, right? And that's unfair to you guys. So I just want to be consistent in the messaging once we have stuff to share with everybody. What are the damn Titans doing? It's a great question, Jordan. It's a great question. Not really sure. My gut tells me that they're going to just stay and draft an offensive tackle because they certainly need one, but we're starting to get that silly season where people are talking about how they might be trading up for a quarterback, which I'm not so sure on that. I am not so sure on the idea of them trading up for a quarterback. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're starting the tank early. I don't know if we'd go that far, but they're certainly at a inflection point of their franchise, right? Could be the last year with Ryan Tannehill. They've got some big decisions to make here, not only this offseason but next offseason. So, and they have a new general manager, right? So they've got a lot that's going on that they need to go through. So, All right, guys, that is going to do it for us here on this show. You guys know the drill. 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we do this. I usually start the stream maybe about a couple minutes early just to let everybody file in here and have those conversations in the pre-show. But I appreciate you guys sticking around with us here. If you could, give the show a thumbs up. It just helps us. Subscribe to the Draft Network YouTube channel if you haven't already. Subscribe to the podcast feed, both the TDN Daily feed and the prospects and props feed, which is going to air here in about 6 minutes, actually. YouTube premiere of today's episode of prospects and props on the YouTube channel. So I got to get out of here because that's going to be starting here pretty soon. So I would appreciate you guys subscribing to all that stuff. You could hit the notification bell. That would also be a lot, would be greatly appreciated so that when things do go live, when we do have these premieres, when we do this kind of stuff, you guys get notified and you guys can come out and hang in here with us. Yep, Al Bundy, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is when we go live doing this each and every day of the week. So I will be back here tomorrow. I've got an idea of what the topic's going to be, but I won't. I'll just leave it at that. I won't tease too much because the NFL news cycle might change things just a little bit. But I do appreciate all of you hanging out with us here on the show and making this a part of your day. It's a lot of fun for me, and I hope it's a lot of fun for you guys. So I hope everybody has a great rest of their Tuesday, and I'll talk to everybody tomorrow.